It's been years, but I still can't fully understand what happened to us inside that house. For so long, it haunted every one of us, even though half my family now pretends it never happened. One of my uncles still says it was all in our imagination, but the rest of us, we know what we saw, what we heard, what we felt. It was real, and whatever it was, it didn't want to be ignored. The strange thing is that it all began in a brand new house. We were the first family to ever live there. Fresh walls, new floors, not even a scratch anywhere. The place was built on an empty lot in a quiet neighborhood in northern Illinois. There were no rumors, no tragedies, no history attached to the land. But from the very first night, something was already there, waiting. When we first moved in, my dad had gone ahead to set everything up before we arrived. He seemed fine at first, but later that evening, he said he wasn't feeling right. His face had gone pale, his eyes sunken, like he hadn't slept in days. That night, he got so sick we rushed him to the hospital. The doctors ran every test, but they couldn't find a single thing wrong with him. It was the start of something none of us could explain. After he came home, things got quiet for a few days. Then, little by little, the silence started changing. There were scratching sounds coming from inside the walls at night. Not like mice or pipes, this was deeper, slower, like fingers dragging along the wood. My mom and dad would hear whispers near their bed after the lights went out. It was faint, but real enough that they'd wake up and look around the room. Sometimes the whispers stopped the moment someone moved. Sometimes they didn't. One afternoon, my mother was walking down the stairs when she suddenly fell. It wasn't a stumble, she said. It felt exactly like someone had swept her feet from under her. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't holding anything heavy. But she fell so hard that she bruised her shoulder and sprained her wrist. Later, when I looked at the bruise, I could swear I saw finger marks in it. That was the first time we really started to believe something unseen was living with us. Then came the night we all heard the baby monitor. My baby sister was only 8 months old, and every night my parents kept the monitor on so they could hear her cry if she needed them. But one night, instead of baby sounds, they heard a voice, an adultvoice.com, whispering to her like it was trying to soothe her to sleep. They ran to her room instantly, but when my dad tried to open the door, it wouldn't move. The handle twisted, but it was like something was holding it shut from the other side. He slammed his shoulder into it over and over until it finally burst open. My little sister was standing up in her crib, tears rolling down her cheeks, and the room, it was ice cold. After that, none of us slept properly for weeks. My brother started keeping his light on all night. He had an old antique mirror that used to sit on top of a dresser, but it didn't fit in his new room, so he leaned it against the wall inside his closet. One night, he woke up to the sound of his closet door creaking open. He looked over and saw something move inside. At first, he thought it was a reflection of his own shadow, but then it moved again, slowly stepping out of the mirror. He said it looked like smoke, taking the shape of a person, black, tall, featureless, and walking straight toward him. He screamed and ran to my room so fast, he nearly broke the door off the hinges. I didn't take him seriously. At first I thought it was just a nightmare. But the next morning, he dragged that mirror out to the garage. And after that, his closet door never opened by itself again. A few months later, I had my own encounter. It was during a simple game of hide and seek. I thought I was being clever by hiding in my bedroom closet. I waited there quietly, not realizing how long I'd been inside. Maybe an hour, maybe more. When I finally came out, I felt dizzy, sick, and short of breath. A few days later, I started coughing, and I didn't stop. No medicine worked. I went to doctors, specialists, everyone. For nearly a year, the cough haunted me. And then one day, it just vanished like it had never been there at all. Around that time, the strange noises stopped, but new things started happening. My radio, an old one with manual knobs, began turning its own volume up at night. I'd fall asleep to quiet music and wake up to it blasting full volume. Sometimes it would start slow, like someone was testing how far they could go, then suddenly it would explode with sound. The only way to stop it was to turn off my bedroom light. When the light was off, everything went silent. That's when I began dreaming. In those dreams, I was always inside our house. Every door I tried to open was stuck shut. Every light switch clicked, but gave no light. The entire house was dark, empty, and I was trapped. The strangest part was that my brother and sister started having the same dream, exactly the same ones, the same dark halls, the same locked doors, the same suffocating silence. It was like something was dragging all of us into its nightmare world, one by one. One afternoon, my dad and I were upstairs putting away towels when we both heard someone running up the stairs. We turned just in time to see a shadow rush past us and into my brother's room. Then the door slammed shut so hard the walls shook. I ran to open it, but there was no one inside. My brother was downstairs, washing dishes. The shadow had no body, no sound, just speed. Not long after that, my mom found a couch sitting on the side of the road and brought it home. It looked fine, old, but clean. But a few days later, she found a dark reddish-brown stain on one cushion that wouldn't come out no matter how much she scrubbed. The day after the baby monitor incident, she dragged that couch outside by herself and left it for trash pickup. She swore it had brought something evil into our home. That same week, my dad decided to cleanse the house. He grabbed his old leather Bible and a few glasses of plain white vinegar. He walked through every room, whispering prayers and blessings in Spanish. The words sounded ancient, heavy, like he was speaking to something that didn't want to listen. When he finished, he told us one glass of vinegar had to stay untouched, somewhere safe. We decided to hide it under my bed, deep in a compartment inside the wooden frame. After that, everything went quiet. For months, there were no more scratches, no voices, no footsteps. We thought it was over, until the day I found the glass again. It had been sitting under my bed for nearly half a year. When I pulled it out, the liquid inside wasn't liquid anymore. The vinegar had turned into a thick, clear, jelly-like gel. It wobbled like cold glue when I moved the glass. Curious, I took it to my science teacher, Mrs. Rivas. She swabbed a small sample and placed it in a petri dish to study. 4 days later, black mold had grown all over it, thick and fuzzy, darker than anything I'd ever seen. She said she'd never come across that type of mold before. It didn't match any she knew. After that, my dad's prayers seemed to lose their power. The house stayed calm, but it was never really peaceful. Objects still moved around sometimes, lights flickered, and my radio still turned itself on every few weeks. I still dreamed of dark hallways and locked doors, and sometimes, in the silence of night, I could feel that same presence standing near my bed, watching. Years have passed since then. The house still stands, and new families live there now. We drive past it sometimes, pretending it's just another memory. But sometimes I wonder if they've started to notice it too, if they've heard whispers through the walls or footsteps, running upstairs when no one is home, because I don't think the house was ever really haunted. I think the land was, and maybe, just maybe, whatever it was, followed us when we left. If you ever move into a brand new house that feels too quiet, listen carefully before you turn out the lights, because silence isn't always empty. Sometimes, it's waiting. Like and subscribe before it finds you too.